Dorian and Morath teams up with Maeve, something I never expected to be reading about. Honestly, my brain kept being like, get the fuck away from her. No, 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 no. He lures her into the idea that they're going to wed and she can rule Ardalan. She's thinking she will rule Ardalan and use Dorian as her puppet. And we know that Dorian's smart. He must have a plan. And he did that stupid thing that Selena always does, where she doesn't tell anybody his plan. And then at the end of that little journey with Maeve, when he gets the word key out of another girl's arm, Maeve comes in and tries to take control of his brain. But little do we know, Dorian has shifted and created a brain that's a fake brain, so that she takes his fake brain under his control. It's a trap, and then he takes her brain when she reaches for his brain, and it's all a confusing maze of brains. And then, this is another thing that we never saw happen. He takes her brain and is like, muhahaha, I'm leaving you here with Erawan to be like I was with a collar. She wasn't. Like, they were friends. He didn't take control of her, but whatever, she managed to manipulate him. But during this transaction, Dorian says he severs her ability to world walk and takes it from her, right? And I'm like, oh my god, Dorian's gonna be able to world walk and create portals. Didn't that seem like what we were doing there? Then he never does. I thought that when he met up with Aelin, we were gonna be like, oh my god, you know what I just took from Maeve? The ability to portal. So we can get you guys there, stat to Orinth. I'm just gonna portal the fuck out of this. But we never did. He never talked about it again. I was just confused. What happened there? I feel a lot of unresolved issues with Dorian. Could you imagine if Dorian and Maeve got married? His taste in women has gone very dark. First Manon evolved. She's not enough of an asshole anymore. But Maeve, she's looking good. She's looking good right about now. After Morath, Dorian tracks down Aelin and crew as a wyvern. They reunite. The tears when Dorian saw Kale walking and Kale saw Dorian. That was beautiful. We have all 3 word keys at this point. The word keys are something we've been talking about forever. We need the word keys. They're like the Horcruxes. We have all 3, and then we can solve our fucking problems. Then we learn in Empire of Storm that we know all the word keys and either Aelin or Dorian to die, and we solve our fucking problems. But really, we're not solving all the problems. They just agreed. The gods made a deal that they would take Erawan with them. I thought they were taking all the Valg. I thought they were sucking the Valg out of our world. But no, they're just like, we'll take him with us. We'll put a leash on him and drag him along with us back to our world. I've been talking about how it sounds like 2 people have to die for this, because one has to forge the lock and the second person has to seal the lock, right? And that is basically what happened. I don't know why they didn't specify that 2 people had to be there, because if Dorian wasn't there, Aelin would have died just making that lock. She had to give everything she had. Meanwhile, Dorian was there for the first half of it, and then his stupid dad shows up and he helps, and then she still needs that power from Mala to survive. She would have died sealing it. This is all kind of very vague feeling to me, this part, when we put the word keys back into the lock. Aelin takes a vote. She puts it up to a vote. Am I gonna die today, or should we wait and then let me die after the battle so that I can help with my fire powers? And of course, Hussar is like, I vote you die today. But Rowan comes up with the idea, which I had this idea. I think we all had this idea. Aelin and Dorian want to do it together, so maybe you don't die doing it. And so they're like, fine, let's do it right now in the middle of the night. And they join hands, and it still feels like, even though they're both doing it, doesn't it feel like Aelin's doing it and Dorian's just there for moral support? Like, he's there if she needs his magic, but he was never going to die because she was in control. Didn't it feel like that? We go up there, we're making the lock, they're in like this dimension by themselves, but they're also just like standing slap-jawed together in a circle on the ground while Kale and Rowan watch them for hours. Everyone's just frozen popsicles, and Kale and Rowan are just rapt with attention. 2 hours, 3 hours later, Dorian falls back into himself because his dad shows up. Now, like I said, there's this thread with Dorian's dad and his anger toward him, but the intensity of it startled me in this book because we didn't hear about it much at all in Empire of Storm. Maybe I forgot. Maybe he did, and I that's why it feels unprecedented to me. I don't remember him ever really bringing it up. And I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I'm just saying that but I just don't remember hearing about it in one of the other books that came in between these books. In the other one, he was being all sexy with Manon, and they were helping Aelin save the world, and maybe they were just too busy doing that. He didn't have enough time by himself to think about it. Anyway, it jarred me. I was like, whoa, oh, okay, daddy issues coming up right now. And the fact that his dad was just summoned and came out of nowhere kind of startled me too. I didn't really understand how he could give himself when he was already dead. If we can take dead people to take your place, what's the point of forging the lock? I just don't get it. He's a ghost? How can he give anything? I wasn't so happy with that. It felt like a cop-out, because obviously neither of them died. I didn't want either of them to die. Aelin's human version of herself died, and she was a fae forever, and she lost all her magic. That was the sacrifice. But nobody died, and Dorian's ghost dad helped forge the lock. I'm not confused, but I'm confused. So the dad helps her forge the lock, and then she says, oh, let me trade Elena for Erawan so Elena can go live in the afterlife with her mate? What? Can we just? No! That's not the deal! Get rid of Erawan! And I know Hussar said all this shit to her afterwards, like, you're a stupid cow, why would you do this? But I just don't get why she would do it. We've spent all this time leading up to this moment. Why? Why are you trying to save a ghost? She's dead and she fucked up. So, and then the word key thing doesn't matter anymore because the gods are pissed off. They don't take Erawan or give her Elena. They just walk out of there. Mala takes pity on her and gives her a stream of power to use so she doesn't completely die sealing this lock. The gods leave. Aelin is like, I'm gonna get revenge, and she reaches out and tears a hole in the gods world that goes to the world that we see in Crown of Midnight, which I also had so many theories about, and there were adjectives that connected to the Valg. Was that the Valg's world? We're never given specifics. But she tears a hole between the gods' happy, joyous, green, utopian world to that dark world so that they have all sorts of shit to deal with and their world's not perfect anymore. And then she closes the door and is like, fuck you, jumps back through her door and just falls through a billion different universe dimensions. And again, I'm sitting here trying to picture this. All I can imagine is her falling through the sky and then falling through the ground like it's the ceiling of the next world. And she's just like... And then the idea that Rysand and Feyre just happen to be chilling in the snow as she comes plummeting from the fucking sky. And that Rysand knows instinctively that this woman needs to be slowed down, but not saved. You know, like, she's falling through worlds. I'm just gonna send some magic her way so she slows down in her plummet through different dimensions. I mean, don't you think Feyre and Rysand, if they saw a woman flying at crazy speeds through the sky towards Earth, they would save her? Not just send a wind to slow her plummet to death? The whole section, I was like, what's happening? As much as I try to make sense of this magic system, it reminds me a lot of Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, where things just happen and I just have to accept them. The whole word key lock situation makes it so that no one can world walk. They can't get out of here. They're stuck. And nothing else. The gods fucked them over. Everyone still has their powers except for Aelin, who had to give them up. Dorian's powers are not endless anymore, but he still has a good chunk of power. And that's it. They have to keep going. It has solved basically nothing. Okay, if you delve into it, it solved something. Now, he can't use the word keys to open up the gates and bring his brothers here. I like that we learned more about Maeve through the Dorian experience. She opens up a little bit more about her husband and why she's here. But I had theorized all this crazy shit about the other brothers. I was kind of looking forward to seeing her try to seduce Erawan more thoroughly, but we didn't do that. But, and on the other hand, I did like that we also got to learn about Erawan and how he has this really deep love and respect for his brothers. Even though he wanted to marry Maeve, he won't move on her. He respects his siblings so much that they're the reason why he does what he does. Why does he want to take over this world and shatter everyone in it? Because he wants to show his brothers what he's accomplished. So We have that whole weird incident with Dorian's dad in the lock. And then in the end, when we're going to defeat Erawan, oh, it was such a great scene. Such a great plan that Alid put together. The whole thing was really reminiscent of that scene from Infinity War when they were trying to take down Thanos. We're all working together. Irene is just up there on that tower luring him over. He gets there and he's telling her how they forged the word gate pieces using a healer. Like a healer had to sacrifice themselves or something to create those word gates, and he's like, I can use you to create new ones. And then he gets stuck as he's walking towards her because they put a word mark on the ground to trap him. And then Irene's like, I'm not Irene. Dun dun dun. And it's Dorian. And it's awesome. And then Irene comes out of the sky and Lysandra's a Rukin and she drops her right on top of him. Elite pins him to the ground with the Demarius and it's so cool. Irene's hands are glowing. She's breaking him apart and sucking the Valg out. And then Dorian starts obsessing about his dad's name. And Irene's like, is this really the time? And Elite and Lysandra are like, yeah, is it? And he's like, yes, I need to know. I need to know. Tell me. And it's that moment. It's that moment in Infinity War where Chris Pratt is like, where's Gamora? And I was so nervous for a second. Like, Dorian, could you not? Was it not enough that you got to talk to your dad's ghost and she took your place and blah, blah, blah with the word? Do we have to risk the safety of the entire world for you to get your dad's name? And then the dad's name is just Dorian's name. And I don't know, it was supposed to be emotional maybe, but it wasn't at all because I was like, really? 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 Dorian, really? Really? That whole nameless is my price didn't pan out for me in a satisfying way. We never really cared that we didn't know Dorian's dad's name. And it never really felt, I don't know. This whole Dorian's dad thread felt like more important in this book than I ever imagined it to be or felt it to be. Let's talk about Manon. There are a lot of other leads in this book, but for me, the real star was Manon Blackbee Crooked. Her arc has been the most satisfying, heartwarming, emotional thing. I was saying how in the beginning of the book, I was trudging through the Witch chapters. I would put down the book a lot, but then as we went forward, I would be like, oh my god, give me the Witch chapters, because Manon, when she faced down the three matrons and took the crown from the yellow-legged lady, what a scene! What a there's nothing like a good Manon fight. And then afterward, when all the Krokans took the knee, I was so proud when she told Dorian that she cared about him and wanted him to stay. When she offered marriage in exchange for him not going to Mora. When she went to talk to the Blue Bloods and the other Ironteeth and made that speech and then she leapt into the sky as a child of peace, not war. Manon, that bitch from Air of Fire, is fighting for peace between all the different witch clans. Past Christine could never fathom the journey these women would take from Air to Fire to now. I hated them. They were terrible. And here we are, and they are the most important characters to me in this book. When Manon shows up in Orinth and saves the day, and they're like, how many? How many did you bring? And she goes, see for yourself. And this wave of red, these Crochan witches from all across the land have united behind her. When Manon is fighting with Abraxas and that yellow legs bitch is giant Wyvern has his jaws around Abraxas's throat, I couldn't. I was in hysterics. I was in the parking lot of Starbucks. I like to sit and read and drink my iced green tea latte, and I'm sitting there in hysterics as Manon desperately tries to find a way to save her puppy. She tells him that she loves him. When she said she loves the anxiety and fear I felt in that moment was so real and so intense. This scene was the most intense scene of the book. Petra Blueblood comes out, and the Blue Bloods had not been fighting with Manon, but this is the moment where they change allegiances and they're fighting for Manon. Petra's Wyvern knocks that yellow legs Wyvern away, but Abraxas is bleeding and he's having trouble flying, but they manage to get him to the wall, and the 13 are all there, and they're all holding his wound together so that the healers can heal him, and I was so sad. I really thought that he wasn't gonna make it in that moment. And then There are these fucking witch towers that are like siege towers, except they're made of word stones so that they amplify the witches' yielding powers. So the witches have the ability to fucking just explode and take out anyone within a certain radius. But the towers expand that radius, so it's like they dropped a giant bomb in whatever area that they do this yielding. Adion and Lysandra and the Bane managed to take out 2 of these 3 witch towers and damage the 3rd one. But in this moment, Lysandra comes flying back to tell them that the 3rd one is up. This is it. It's going to destroy Orinth. It's going to destroy the walls. They've already been under siege for what feels like fucking years. They don't have the means to destroy this tower. And who's fucking up there but Manon's fucking grandma, who's still alive? Manon immediately, she desperately is asking for a mount. She needs another Ravern. She needs a broom. She needs to get out there. And the 13 just, like, they get on their Raverns and they tell her to live, and they punch her in the stomach so she can't get up, and they sacrifice themselves to save Terracin, and it was the saddest scene. It's still not over it, obviously. I can't believe they did that. Seeing Manon go through this, seeing her feel so much, these women who she loves, who are her family, all just died for her and for Terracin and for a better world. It is so sad. All that was left was Abraxas. Morath retreats and she goes out to the place where they all exploded. They all did the yielding, and everyone comes out and puts flowers there to pay their respects, and it breaks the curse of the wastes. It made the book. It made everything. Manon, her arc into the person she is now is complete, but her story isn't over. She has just begun. She has to build a kingdom. I love when she reunites with Dorian, and Dorian's desperately trying to find a way to guarantee that she stays in his life, so he wants her to train with the Rukin Riders who are staying back to raise these Wyvern that they found. And Irene is there in this moment, and she's like, or you guys could just get married and stop pretending. And Manon says, we'll see. Oh, there's nothing better than hearing we'll see to a question you think the answer is going to be no to. I need to see. I want to see their story play out. The Manon-Dorian love story is needed. I want to see the monument in Orinth that Aelin is going to erect for these women. What else made me cry? Aelin and Irene finally meeting brought me so many tears. Alid and Lorcan. Oh, I love their journey. My favorite scene with them had to be when Alid realized Lorcan was still out on the battlefield and the dam was gonna fucking break. The highlight of the first half of this book was the part when Lorcan took the blood oath and everyone just stood around ragging on him and talking about how they're not gonna invite him to their hang. Another thing, Alid and Irene, I love these women working together. As soon as Irene sees that Alid is hurt, I was like, can you talk to her about fixing that ankle, please? Irene sits her down and discusses what it would take. There's no other option but to heal it. It's just gonna get worse and worse and worse. I want to see them do it. I want another Tower of Dawn where Alid and Lorcan are hanging with Kale and Irene and healing Alid. I thought we were gonna see it toward the end after the war, but we didn't do it. And I'm just like, she's in Parenth and she's gonna be in Rifthold. Excuse me, we need to take care of this, please. There are moments in this book where Irene was just talking about Kale just being and doing things, and I was crying because he's grown so much since the beginning of Tower of Dawn. And Irene is pregnant. I want to see that baby. I loved Irene dealing with Kale's dad. Oh, we finally got to meet Kale's elusive asshole dad, and it was so fun to see Irene just being awesome. And then Aelin coming in and being a complete asshole right back to him. It was so weird at the end watching Aline say goodbye to everyone. They're all gonna be in their separate areas of the continent and not together, and there's that one precious moment where she is saying goodbye to Dorian and Kale. They all hug, and it's the sweetest, most nostalgic little minute. There's another moment in here when Aelin's like, things have changed so much since this all started a year ago. A year ago? Can you believe this entire experience has taken place over the place of 1 year? It's been at least 5 years, Aelin. You're wrong. You're wrong. This can't have all happened in 1 year. I cried when the cadre were all working together for Aelin at the end and helping her defeat Maeve. Gotta say, when we were in each of their little hellscapes, I was like, I don't need this right now. I don't need this. Let's just get them out. I understand what's happening. I don't want to read about it. Burn them back. Let's take this bitch down. We also had this father-son thread with Gabriel and Aedion running through this book. And I'm so looking forward to their reunion the whole time. And we get to the end, and Aedion is giving everything to keep this gate held, and the gate breaks open. And this is the moment where Gabriel shows up and he's like, my son. And we have all this build-up. He had this whole conversation with Kale about how he wants to be worthy to fight by his son's side. I cried after that conversation with Kale when he said Aedion would forgive him, and Gabriel was like, why are you so certain? And Kale goes, because you're his father, and no matter what might lie between you, Aedion will always want to forgive you. Aedion is gonna forgive him! He's so happy to see his father, and they're like, let's close this gate together. And Gabriel's like, fuck yes, that's all I've ever wanted. And then he goes and sacrifices himself, and literally a second later he's dead. Both me and Aedion, what the actual fuck just happened? Are you kidding me? Another kind of what the fuck moment in this was when Aelin's making their final push to get to Orin, and the little fairies come. She follows them to find the King of the North. I'm over here like, Jon Snow, is that you? And apparently the King of the North is a giant white deer stag? Did we know about this? Have they ever talked about the King of the North? That was like, what? Who? Huh? You know what part was awesome? When Aelin finally gets to Orin, they blow the horn, and then everyone else blows their horn and unsheaths their swords and charges toward the Morath army. Cheers. Sarah gave us an amazing series. In the end, it's about the characters and the moments and their growth. I wish I was more satisfied with the magic system and my understanding of it. I'm a little confused about Aelin's water ability that she's never spoken about or realized she had before. I wish there was more to the Dorian-Selena magic bond, because at the end of Queen of Shadows, when their magic joined, it could take down the world or whatever, and Rowan even said that. He's never seen anything like it in here before they forged the lock, but when they were forging the lock, like, it didn't matter at all. There was nothing special about their magic. It was just replaced, and I was kind of thrown by that. The more I think about what Erawan said about healers being able to create the word keys, the more I was kind of confused about why a firebringer is the person who has to seal the gate. Is it just because they made some deal with a firebringer person? Could a healer seal the gate without killing themselves? I don't know, but I guess it doesn't really matter in the end. I'm sad to say goodbye to this world. I hope that isn't goodbye. Really got my fingers crossed for that Manon Dorian spinoff. I'd love to hear your thoughts, what stood out to you, any opinions on anything I said. My name's Christine. I make videos every Tuesday and other days too. My novel, Again But Better, comes out this year, May 7th. It's available for pre-order now. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.